So, first of all, on the title of my presentation, I'm sorry I don't speak Spanish, even though I am Italian, but Italians do speak Spanish, and which is kind of neutral way of speaking in those contexts. So, first of all, I will talk about the impact of eco-design and eco-labeling in the stove market, but to be precise, I have to say that the regulation distinguish between local space heaters and boilers. So mainly the Ecodesign Directive focuses on local space heaters. It will be mandatory to comply to it from the 1st of January 2022. And what do we mean with local space heaters? Basically, local space heaters are heaters which are supposed to heat the room in which they are applied. In this situation, we talk about stoves, fireplaces, kitchens, but we have to remember that it is also considered a local space heater, a product which could distribute heat also in other rooms. Basically, a stove which heats water, for example, or a stove which heats air, which is ducted in other rooms. And I will come back to this later on. So those are the kind of products we deal with and I will talk about. First of all, the directive, the Ecodesign Directive target is to influence manufacturers in order to say, okay, what you have to do before introducing a product in the market is to comply to those limits. So when we talk about the impact, it's an impact to the manufacturers. That means to the R&D department and to the new product development. The benchmarks which have been registered by the people working on the Ecodesign Directive those benchmarks do not represent a single product. Those are just the best performances for a single dimension. So there is no open fireplace, for example, now that can achieve 47% efficiency as well as 20 milligrams cubic meters dust emissions, etc., etc. So this is just a benchmark. Starting from those benchmarks, the limitations of the directive are those. And what I want to highlight is that the attention of the directive is focused on NOx, which basically is the same despite the kind of technology, which is tough, of course, because we are going from open fireplaces down to automatic feeded pellet stoves with regulators inside. So you have to imagine there are completely different ways of burning the fuel and also managing the product, because open fireplaces or stoves are feeded by hand. So you load wood, you cut the wood, you store the wood in very different conditions. While with pellet, of course, you have automatic feeding. The fuel is some way regulated in terms of quality and characteristics, so it's much easier to fulfill specific requirements. So there are quite a few variables when we talk about wood in particular that can be very difficultly achieved. And installation is also part of it. And so I want to highlight the NOx limitations and also the particulate limitation, which is coherent with what was told before with the previous presentation. So the attention was focused on those limitations. And I will not go more in depth now on the directive and the impact of the directive, because I wanted to put together also the information regarding the eco-labeling. The labeling is a completely different target. While the eco-design is targeted to manufacturers, the labeling is targeted to the users. Labeling was made to give users the possibility to choose the most efficient product. And what I have to say, this is the best news for us, because stoves and fireplaces are chosen by the end users. It's very difficult that a boiler or a wall heating system is chosen by the end user. So my first statement is that the eco-labeling will have a huge impact, because it will give the user the possibility to understand what he is going to buy. In our sector, much more than any other in the eating sector. Just think about if you have ever seen the label of your heat pump before purchasing it. Maybe you have seen it after, when you unpacked it, or maybe if somebody put it in the chassis. And it's different for refrigerators, it's different for other kind of products. And we feel lucky because labeling for us will be something that will help the user choose the best product in the market. And so we are very positive in terms of impact of this kind of regulation. And this will come first. So I won't go very much in deep about labeling, even because our label is very easy and understandable in terms of for the end user, much more easier than the boilers one, on top of which you can see also there can be combination with solar, combination with heat storage and other things, which are a little bit more difficult to be built up first, and second, who reads them? Will be the installer the target? Will be the engineer the target? We don't really understand. But our side, it's very easy and understandable. And what is a little bit more complicated, it will be the way people will switch from the actual efficiency of product to the new view of efficiency. And that will have a huge impact in regulations and policymakers, because we will have to face three kinds of efficiency, and I will explain you why. First of all, the labeling, the energy labeling, uses the energy efficiency index, which is built up like this. It's made up of the standard efficiency, the one we have always been used to hear about, and it is printed on the products now, it's highlighted in the catalogs, is written on the papers of any kind of regulation or regulation. Next to it, there is the biomass label factor, which some way has been explained before, that compensate the renewability of biomass compared to fossil fuels. Then we have this kind of minus 10%, which basically has a counterpart, which is the contribution of control, different kind of controls, and then penalization for electricity consumption and possibly permanent pilot flames. So it is a full energy-based kind of index. Here, there is nothing talking about emissions or something like that, besides the biomass label factor, which some way recaps the difference between renewable and fossil. But basically here there are no limitations in terms of emissions. Limitations come from the eco-design, not from the labeling. I will skip the details just in case questions, if there are questions, I can go more in deep, because I want to speed up the process to the comparison between the three efficiencies. As I said, eco-labeling, the formula is like this. Eco-design has no biomass label factor within, and so at the end, what we have to switch from going to is a situation like this. We do have at the moment the standard. It's not yet a standard 16510, but it's coming up. Is the new EN regulation for the solid fuel burners, stoves, fireplaces, and things like that. And it's the standard efficiency. Then we do have the eco-design with the seasonal efficiency, and then we have the eco-labeling energy efficiency index. So the same product has three kinds of efficiency at the end. This is, for example, for a pellet heater, 83% is now on the catalogs. It will become a kind of 102.95%, which will be translated possibly in something like A+. And then in terms of eco-design, there will be 79%. This will be a little bit messy, even for policymakers, which if they do not adopt those standards, like the eco-labeling standards, and they start talking about A+, there could be a huge confusion talking about efficiency. This confusion is running already in France, for example, where regulamentations talk about seasonal efficiency and it is not really clear either if they are talking about the eco-design seasonal efficiency or they just mismatch the word seasonal efficiency with efficiency, okay, especially in our category of products. And so my recommendation from this point of view is that since those regulations have been published officially the 21st of July this year, all policymakers should possibly use these kind of documents and references to determine whether a product is eligible or not in a certain circumstances, in a certain area, according to the quality of air situation. Even though we understand this kind of labeling is weak in terms of emissions content. Impact. So we have positioned our product in this kind of graph. Every spot is a product, and the situation is like this. So you can see open fireplaces down there, class F and G, and then we go up with kitchen stoves, high-performance stoves, and pellet stoves. So this is before eco-design. So before eco-design, for a few years, there will be on the market products with labels going from G or F, E, D, B, up to A+, A++. But then, in 2022, eco-design will become mandatory for everybody, and so this will be the effect. Basically, a few kind of products now on the market will not be sellable anymore. So I will roll back and go forward again. So you will see quite a few categories of product will basically be pushed out of the market. We have assumed something like 80% of the wood appliances, including 100% of open fireplaces, will be pushed out of the market with the current regulations. And that's because mainly of particulate matter emissions. So the market effect for pellet, the other way, is not expected to be very strong in terms of product range offer. And the main effect is expected to be the market share of pellet products, pellet burning products, of course, against wood appliances. Basically because pellet products will be cheaper and will achieve the minimum requirements of the eco-design, while wood products, to achieve those targets, will be more expensive. So, conclusions. We do expect high-quality products burning pellet to target the A++, which is definitely achievable at the moment. Of course, there will be a price evolution on this from this point of view, because regulators will be updated in order to reduce consumption in standby mode and also introduce those fancy features like open window and presence detection, which are nice to read, very difficult to apply, because as you understand, burning a solid fuel doesn't really allow us to switch on and switch off as soon as you enter the room and get out of the room, or open the window or close the window. So we are very slow in terms of reaction. So we don't really think that is a very, let's say, technologically applicable regulation anyway. And so priority issues, as I'm writing here, will concern pellet quality and installations, together with the use of the product. And those will be the real differentiating factors, because everything we are talking about now refers directly to the products, but we are not taking into account installation, use, and maintenance, which are very, very, very important for the life, for the whole life of the product itself, which is expected to be between 5 to 10 years. Finally, as I said, this kind of regulations will give really a boost to pellet compared to wood, which I don't really know whether if it is a good news or a bad news, but still is something we have to deal with. And so every topic in terms of sustainability of the whole wood supply chain and wood use has to take into account that these regulations will increase the share of pellet against wood. Thank you very much for your attention.